The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Armed Radio. Really excited to be here. I'm your host, Lynn.
And I'm Cindy Lee.
Yes. And so what happens next? And tonight's topic on Armed Radio is life after divorce. We are both experts in this.
Yes.
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 Yes!
Yes!
We are experts in divorce.
Yeah.
Not only am I I'm a marriage and family therapist that's professionally been experted, which isn't really a term, but we're going to go with experted.
I like that term.
Do you like
Make
that?
up our own terms.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's next? We make up our own.
And you're a certified coach, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm a certified health and wellness coach. Yep.
Yeah. Look at this content.
I know, right?
Yes. Our guests are so lucky.
I know. Well, you know, nobody marries to get divorced, but you know what? We can do this today because we did the whole so what's next, right?
Right.
So what now? What do you want? So
I don't really think I did that. When I got divorced, it was very much like, shit, what the F?
What just happened? I know, right?
Right?
But
we both have similar stories of divorce too.
We do. Long relationships with our ex-husbands. Mine started when I was 12.
Your story's crazy. You started dating somebody at 12.
I did. It's a true story.
And you married him and had 4 kids.
The Karate Kid movie.
Then he had sex with your secretary.
I know. You can't. This is like Jerry Springer show. You can't make it up. No.
Mine hooked up with my disabled son's therapist and employee who was billing.
Right.
Like... You know.
Why not, right?
Yeah, and who else? I heard he was having sex in hotels, too, on duty at LAPD, but who knows?
Yeah. But who knows? We don't question that.
We don't know.
We don't know.
And he's probably watching right now. Does yours stalk you? Because my ex-husband stalks me and his girlfriend.
I have no idea.
Oh. Have you ever thought of it?
If he stalks me?
Yeah, like if he watches your social media?
Yes, I do wonder. But what do? You know? You tell the truth, right?
Yeah,
like,
if you're telling the truth, you have nothing to hide.
Right. Like, mine didn't have an affair. He had a whole double life with this woman. So, you know, affair is one thing, double life is another. But, hey, they just got married a couple weeks ago.
Technically both.
Right. Right? So you just kind of get to that place of, okay, so what's next? And it takes a while. There's no doubt. I didn't set out like that. I ended up marrying an alcoholic over the years. I mean, obviously was an alcoholic at 12, and through, you know, different stressors in their lives and building businesses and franchises and things like that, you know, next thing you know, this is what we're looking at. And
Isn't it hard when they have an affair and you know them? Because that's the so what's next thing is really like, I want to kill somebody.
Well, yeah.
I want to kind of go crazy.
Well, and the funny thing is that when I figured it out, she was the first person I called, right? Like, I wanted to get some information, and I ended up calling her at our office.
Oh.
Because my ex-husband had just gotten a treatment. So I was trying to figure out, how did he get there? Because he drove himself, supposedly. And I was trying to find one of our cars that we wanted to take up to a family reunion. But I also woke up really late, or I guess really early in the morning, and thought, God, I think he's having an affair. And I wanted to ask her. And I ended up calling the office, and she was really short and said some pretty choice words to me. And I thought, I think it's her.
Really? Was it like your intuition? Because you didn't know. Okay, so tell the story. You caught your husband at the time having an affair, but you didn't know who it was with. So how did you catch him?
No, so before it all happened, I just kind of had these, you know, you have those intuition type moments, or thinking like, what is this? And So I'd question him and he'd deny it, and I'd question him and he would deny it, and then I'd say something sassy and he'd deny it again. And so I just kind of went through the motions, kept going, raising 4 kids, running businesses, all that kind of stuff. And my brother got married. The next day, David left for treatment. And the following day,
and you say treatment because he had alcohol issues while you were married.
He had alcohol issues, yeah.
So during your marriage, did you think, so what's next? Like, if I leave, so then what's next?
I didn't know how to leave. You know, one of the things that I really find, even with clients today, is that feeling of there's like this inner, like this web is so like, it's so intricate that you don't know how to get out. You don't know what to do. So you stay and you try to make things work. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm proud of what I did until I really realized that I was staying because I didn't know how to go. And once I figured out the affair, actually, it took me a couple times to tell you the truth. The first time I figured it out, I stayed. I stayed almost a year and a half. And then when I figured out the second time that they were still together, that's when I left. But really, it's interesting to sit there and think, how do I do this? And what I really realized is that there's no perfect way to leave. There's no perfect way to set it down with ease. Like, there's going to be pain. There's going to be struggle. But going through the so what, kind of like, so what's next, helped me just be like, all right, if I don't go, what does my life look like? And I just decided it didn't look like what I wanted it to look like. I wasn't standing up for who I was, and my kids were, you know, I have 3 girls and 1 son, and I didn't want to kind of set that precedence for them. So yeah, it's just kind of an interesting thing. I didn't know, but when I decided that I was going to ask the question and ask it of our secretary, and then the response that I got, I knew it was her instantly, and I just hung up. And then I called him at treatment, and they told me I couldn't talk to him. I said, oh, okay, well, I need to talk to him. So they eventually let me talk to him, and I just asked him one question. I said, you have one shot at this to answer the truth, and he did, which was great. And then it was, so what's next? And my first what's next was actually to stay. That's the truth.
Mine wasn't. Mine was instantly like, done.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
You were done. You were done in that moment.
That was it.
Okay.
Because it was the who. You know, I think maybe, I don't know. For me, it was the who when, you know, when you catch your husband or wife, for men watching, that is being dishonest and they're being unfaithful. And for some of us, you know, during our relationships, we're already kind of rocky anyway. Mm-hmm. And then to me, it was like, it was the who it was. So it was like, you can never touch me again. I could never be with you again. And then there's a lot of the guilt and shame. And I was going to ask you, did you go through, because even now I have the, people don't want me to talk about it, especially kids. You know, we both have 4 kids, and our kids get older, and my family's like, why do you have to be public about it? Why do you have to keep talking? And it's like, well, I do that for other people, to offer them support, and to offer that there's something powerful about the truth in all arenas and all platforms and all issues that we deal with. Whenever we're dealing with something that's challenging in our lives, whether it's, you know, being married and there isn't an affair going on, but there's the stress of a special needs child, or being married and everybody's working all the time nonstop. And, you know, or just having communication, or drug and alcohol issues, whatever it might be. But sometimes when it comes to lying, there's something about the dishonesty. So, and that's no judgment on you that you stayed. But for me, it was just like, oh no, we're done. And what's next was a panic for me, because I didn't know how to take care of it or what to do.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. And that whole thing back to truth, and like, you know, I'll say, like, the truth will set you free. I have a quote: the truth will set you free, but first it might kick your ass, you know. And that's kind of how I felt. Like,
MLK would really like that. Martin Luther King, he'd be like, yeah, the truth will set you free, but you're going to get your ass handed to you first.
You're going to get your ass handed to you first.
He left out that part. By the way, you're going to get murdered too.
I know. It's just like, okay, you're going to get murdered. But it's true. It's like that whole piece of, you know, opening up that truth, that Pandora's box, to like look at it and say, oh, that is what it is. And I was really good. Like, I used to people didn't know. My ex-husband and I were together for so long. We were, nobody knew. And even today, people are still shocked. And we've been divorced for 4 years. They're still shocked that we're divorced, that they didn't know, because I kept it hidden. And I kept our struggle and our marriage hidden for so long. Like, people would come to my house and I'd hand them rose-colored glasses and clothespins. Like, put the glasses on, put this over your nose so you can't see the shit or smell the shit, right? Like, that there's shit in here. I just don't want anybody to know, because I don't want anybody to know that we have this struggle. And when I first found out about the affair, I didn't tell anybody other than my closest friends and my mom and my family.
I think that's normal, not telling anybody.
Yeah. And then my kids didn't know either. So we stayed together for a little over a year and a half. And I was trying to work on it. I guess maybe he was. I'm not sure. I don't know the details. And again, I'll never know all the intricate details of all of it. But when I found out the second time, when I discovered it was not over, that was a pretty painful, so what's next moment.
Different kind of blow.
Different kind of day. I woke my kids up in the morning after I chased my ex down at the house that he and our secretary actually had. Chased him down, confronted him, said, "Hey, it's over." And then going home and telling the kids was probably the hardest thing. So that morning I woke him up before school, and we sat on my bed, and I just had us all hold hands. I'm like, how do you do this? How do you say this to your kids? And
how old were they at the time?
Let's see. So they would have been 11, 13, 16, and 17.
And by the way, it's super cool, because I apologize and I wish you could see it, but there's a lot of people commenting in, and it's very interesting, and because God bless everybody, and we love you and we support you all, and thank you for watching us.
Yes.
There, some people were saying, no, I told everybody. And some people were saying I didn't tell, so however, we all just deal with it differently.
That is the so what's next, right? Like, you found out what's your next step. And I don't have regrets, but maybe I would have done it differently. Yeah. But the second time around, I said to I had my kids all hold hands, and I just said, so here's what's going on. And the shock on their faces, and they know her. They've known her since they were really little. She was with our company for a long time. But you know what? For me, that was that moment of, oh my God, I'm finally free. Like, for a year and a half, the kids didn't know maybe I was more quiet, or I had more tears, or I seemed more stressed, or whatever, when we were trying to work on it. Why is Mom different? And I did it to protect them. But they knew something was up. And then when I finally just said, I can't keep a secret anymore, God, I felt free. And since that moment, I've been really clear on, I'm straightforward with them when it comes to, with compassion, right? If they ask me a question, I'll always say, I'll tell you the truth, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a pretty truth. But they have to ask, but that was a day where I was like, I got to tell you something that you probably never want to hear, but we can move forward if we can have truth in our family. Mm. So I don't think there's a right or wrong. In fact, I know there's not a right or wrong. Like, some people tell everybody
interesting, because different, like in our line of work as a profession, as in the marriage and family therapy arena, there's like a lot of perspectives on how to handle it. And I can even tell you, like, our 4 children's therapists told us we shouldn't say anything. It's not children's business. And that's hard too, because in our situation, we dealt with domestic violence and him being a police officer, a lot of lying, a lot of just issues. And two, nobody believed it, because it was very much, you keep up the facade. I think every couple does that. I think every couple that has issues, no matter what your issues are, mild to moderate to extreme, when people are around us or we're in environments, we're keeping up the facade. So I know professionally and our community of marriage and family therapists, it's always leave the children out of it. The children, what's in the relationship between the husband and wife is between the husband and wife. I personally don't agree with that. I actually wrote an entire thesis paper on how those lies, exactly what you're saying, is they can tell that there's something wrong with mom or dad if they're acting different, at what age, how do you deliver it? That you can tell the children what's going on and being honest. But then the other side of the profession says, well, then they get a skewed opinion of their parents. Well, you want the truth about your parents. I rather know the truth about my parents. I would rather know if my mom or dad is a lying, cheating, stealing, unfaithful, alcoholic. I would rather have the truth than the lie. But interestingly enough, all of the therapists in our particular case said to leave the children out of it. And I didn't. And so then I became, the problem.
Yeah.
And then I became the crazy one. And then, all of our other issues ensued. So I just find that that's so interesting in who's right and who's wrong. And I think if you take a poll, most people would say truth. Like you said truth, right?
Yeah, I said truth. And the thing about that concept is it goes back to what we were talking about last week when we were talking about the victim, villain, hero, the victim, persecutor, and rescuer, right? Like if we can share with our kids,
I
we
totally
can share with our kids.
Did you hear it?
No.
I'm so sorry. I don't know.
I thought
Did anybody hear it?
I thought somebody touched you. Like you're like, oh, somebody brought something touching you because you were
subject.
something. That's nice. Jamie.
So what's next?
No, but
okay,
I
back
really
to serious.
I really do think. Well, we can be crazy. You and I get out of control, but that whole idea that speaking to your kids from a non-victim, like you're not the victim, you're not trying to make somebody the hero or somebody, like we're just looking at, here's the story, here are the facts. We don't have to get on this triangle and find somebody, being the persecutor, even though there might be an experience that appears like
we
that.
did talk about that last week, but I'm going to be vulnerable and blunt. I really did want that. I wanted them to choose me. I wanted them to say what he's done is so unethical and illegal and wrong that we want to have boundaries with that. So
I can see that. I can see that. And I would take probably that back, like
but
that.
I did do that.
I could see that I probably did that in the beginning as well, but that's not where I am today. So what's next? It's like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that disempowered person that just has to have that. But probably in the initial stages of it, maybe I did. I don't know. I probably did at certain times.
I felt totally victimized. I was victimized in my, you were victimized. We were victimized. Not that, but it is that balance. And tell your story that we talked about earlier with your client, because I think that's a powerful analogy, because you tell facts, you tell story. How do you get yourself out of feeling like I'm a victim, but when I really am a victim, or our children are really victims, but you're a persecutor, and then who's this, the savior all at once. So tell your story.
Of it. Yeah. So I was out in the ARB walking today, and one of my clients, we were talking, she said, I finally get it. I get it. I said, what do you get? She said, I get the good news and the bad news. And I said, well, what's the bad news first? And she said, I can't blame anybody for anything that's happened in my life or what's going on in my life. There's nobody to blame. And I said, what's the good news? And then at the same time, we said the same damn statement. There's nobody to blame. And the reason why that's so great is because then you can be empowered in your life. Like, if there's nobody to blame, then you can actually change anything you want in your life. But if you're so busy blaming everybody else, how do you ever get on with your life? And I think that was such a so what moment for me. I mean, here I am. We lived a really high roller lifestyle. We had anything we wanted. We did anything that we wanted. We had it all. And, through the course of some crazy, crazy behavior that my ex was having with our secretary, our whole life flipped upside down and everything changed and I had nothing. And, that moment of, well, I can either sit down and not get up, or I can say, so what's next? Pull up my bootstrap, and go. And as hard as it was, I'm so grateful I did it. So that whole idea of, if you're not busy blaming somebody, you can say, so what's next? What do I want? You can focus in a totally different direction. And then life is totally kick-ass and awesome. But if you're so busy going, I blame that person, I blame that person, I blame that person, I blame that person, then what? You just spend
or
your whole
even
life
blaming yourself, because I know that there's that
yourself.
thought process and that logical or lack of illogical that we go through, because I blame myself a lot, and I definitely have to take responsibility for certain aspects of our relationship and whatnot, but not when it comes to, infidelity and domestic violence, and certain things are kind of like, yeah, there's a victim and there's a persecutor. Where do you draw that line in the sand? But I don't know.
And I can remember when, at the time, I remember thinking, I've never been a better wife. I've never been in better shape. I've never been a better mom. Like, at the peak of what I thought, when I was like totally killing it, right? That's when I got totally like, surprise, you're not that great, right?
Right.
Like, what? I thought I was working my ass off. I thought I was doing this, everything. I was checking every box. I was a box checker. Check the box, right? Like, do it all correctly. Have the meals. Do this. Don't worry. I used to say to him, hey, I don't want to inconvenience your life at all. Like, I got this. Keep going. Do what you want to do, right? I was the ultimate supporting wife and mother. I thought I was just a rock star. And then it was like, hey, by the way, I've been having a double life with my secretary. Like, what? Who knew? That's that forgiveness of self. Like, I can't blame myself. I can't be hard on myself. But I struggled with that for a while too.
Blaming yourself a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever get and I don't know, for people watching or listening on the show, it's hard being an independent woman, really balancing the strong, assertive kind of alpha woman, if you will. Like you said, you're all of these things that make us attractive. So a lot of men or other women watching would say that it's attractive to be, entrepreneurial minded, intellectual, go-getter, self-confident, assertive, all of these things that look really awesome. But when it comes down to it, when you're in a relationship a lot, I have found that it becomes almost the problem in the relationship that you're those things, because then I was told that I didn't give you enough attention. They didn't feel needed, like they were important. They felt demasculated, like they weren't allowed to be the man. So when a woman acts like a man, a lot of times in what, culturally or society would deem these gender type of roles, that you run into those issues.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that I see that more in myself today than I did in my marriage. I became such a great cheerleader that I kind of got lost in my ex-husband's dreams. And I was so fixated on his dreams that at one point in my life, I remember waking up in the morning thinking, I think I will die not knowing what I was supposed to do, which is really interesting. So now coming out of that.
Interesting.
I know. Now coming out of it, I have more of what you're talking about, that you're saying, like that balancing of that. But I can so quickly go back into giving all of my focus and attention to support somebody else inappropriately, right? Like with no thought of my own needs, desires, or dreams. And so now I'm in a balanced place of how do I do that for myself and, be in a relationship or not, right? Like it's that, how do you balance all that stuff like you're talking about? And I've always owned my own company since I was young. So, but I just kind of had hobby jobs. It was really about supporting him and all of his dreams, but I had the hobby jobs on the side. And I don't know if I ever would have done what I do now today had I not gotten divorced. So that's that. So what's next? So I'm divorced now. Okay, well, what do I want? That took me a while to actually answer that question. I didn't even know what I wanted. Yeah.
Sometimes I still feel that way.
I know. Right? Well, how about this? Like, what do I not want? I mean, like, somebody said, what do you want? And I said, I want it all, like everything, like fun, adventure, everything. Why not? Right? Like we're here to play and explore. So it's kind of fun. There's some fun stuff about being divorced.
Right. But the part about, so what's next when you're divorced is it is a whole new ball game of being a single parent, being a single parent on both sides, brings a whole new array of challenges, not just financially trying to support yourself and children. It's time. When do you find time to date? I don't date,
Right. No, it's true. And And I have my kids full time, and not a couple of them are in college, but yeah, it's that, yeah, how do you balance all that? How do you, like even before bed, one of my daughters wanted me to read her a book, and she's 15, but she's like, will you just read me a book tonight, Mom? And I said, sure,
Aww.
that sounds good, so
So cute.
that's sweet, right? Like, how do you balance all that stuff and their needs and their, to meet that? So it is a lot. It is a challenge, but it's that every moment of, so what's next? What can I do? What's the next thing I can do right now? Do I have time to take 15 minutes to read a book? The answer can be yes,
Mm-hmm.
and so
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes. That's a big deal. I'm a yes. I say that a lot. Okay, I'm a no to that.
I'm a no.
I'm a yes. I'm a yes to that. I do say that a lot, don't I? I say that with my clients. I'm like, you're really clear that you're a no. Or you're very clear you're a yes. It's awesome.
But it is empowering. I like how you say that, Am I a yes to this? Am I a no to that? Because that was one thing, I think, going back to what we were talking about with losing yourself. I always lost myself in my children because my son, my oldest son became vaccine injured, and the autism and the seizures, and so sick. I just happened to be in a profession because I always loved helping people. I was in graduate school to be a marriage and family therapist, a behavior analyst. I was a teacher. Yeah. I was young. I mean, I was 22 years old, and I remember thinking even then, I really don't like my profession. I love helping people, but it's exhausting. It is very much like, those professions that can be really taxing and draining. And then when Dominic got sick, he and helping him and clients and patients and humanity became my sole focus. It's like, what does Jamie like? Like, so what's next for me? And I got into marketing, and I really love the marketing that I do and helping other people make money and building companies. And I really enjoyed being the entrepreneurial business far over not understanding, do I do this because I really love it? Because of course I love helping people, but in our space of the mental health community, it's exhausting. I mean, I've had patients kill themselves. We see a lot of disease and death and dying and divorce and trauma, and it's one of those things. So it's like, now what do I want? What is next for me? And I don't know, do you feel this way? I think we got divorced right around the same time. I got divorced in separated in 2012, divorced in 2014, which I'm like, shoot, man, that was 4 years ago.
We're the same.
Time flies. Like, where did the time go? But yet it seems like yesterday. I find myself even like today, when I'm walking through the airport and I'm traveling for work, I will look at other families and see units still together, a husband and wife and their kids. And I'm like, wow, that could be me. But it's not me. I'm by myself. And here I am, states away from my kids while they're with their dad in a hotel. And it's like, so what's next? I mean, some people dream of that, when they're married, that they can, travel and go have random sex with people and do whatever they want and wake up whenever they want and go raid fridges. And not me. I'm Sunday night doing radio shows and working.
Exactly. Well, and it takes guts to say what's next, right? Like, here you're in this profession and you're a trained marriage and family therapist, and then you're thinking, I don't know, do I want this? And then you found, like a what's next in marketing. You love it. It's, and that's that piece to say, God, I got to listen to what's going on inside of me and take that risk. And for me, I was in the fitness industry for a long time, and coaching and all that kind of stuff. And I was watching people come in, and we would joke in the fitness industry that we should have become therapists, because you spend the majority of the time listening to people just in struggle. Because when people are really in struggle, oftentimes they end up in a trainer facility, right? Like, hey, I'm going to get physically fit. And then it's just constant, like, here's what's not going well in my life. And so that was part of why I became a national board certified health and wellness coach, was to actually do the mindset stuff. And so that was my what's next. Like, something wasn't working in the fitness industry, even though people were talking about movement and food. I'm like, screw this. This isn't even working. What's so funny?
Lou said, "What's wrong with being sexual? Ha ha ha."
Nothing.
Nothing.
And I love that about myself.
And I love that about myself.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes. Can we find somebody I want to have sex with?
Jamie Lynn.
Just kidding. I'm scared of men. I'm scared of dating. That's actually that's a true topic. I mean, I haven't dated in years. It's scary to me. Like, legit thinking about being with somebody and trying to work somebody in my life and finding somebody, that's a match for me is really kind of scary. I never thought I'd be there. When I was in my 30s, I mean, it's so funny the stages that you go through. I mean, I had 4 kids. I had a, very successful career, and it was like, this is the life. Box check. Yeah. Checking off those boxes.
Yeah.
And it was like, bam, whoa, this is what's going on. I dated somebody that was almost 10 years younger than me, and that was, oh my gosh, he said there's adult toy stores.
What did he say?
There's always adult toy stores.
That's true.
As I said, I was dating somebody 10 years younger than me, which was pretty much like going into a toy store and like was a nightmare.
It would be a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. So now, the trauma of divorce and the trauma of dating is real. So it is fascinating when people say statistically, in California, I don't know what your statistics are in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Chicago, Illinois, and all those places over there you're at, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on over there, but here in like California, we have a really high divorce rate. We have a really high divorce rate. I think, I'm not sure why we have a higher divorce rate, but we do nonetheless. And dating is not easy, especially when you try to date when you have, kids and a disabled one on
Yeah.
Where do you fit it in? And online dating, oh my gosh, we should have a segment just solely about online dating.
I could ask different people to come in and talk about that. I've never done that.
I have. But it's scary.
Is it? I've had clients that have done it. That it's crazy. It's literally a crazy journey. Mm-hmm. Watching it all. Mm-hmm. It's nuts. It's fast. It's furious.
I just started doing a study because my mind likes to make things into studies. I like to take data and like figure out.
Yeah. So what are you studying, Jamie? Jamie.
Okay. So what's next after divorce when you're on an online dating app?
Hell yes, we got to do it. Oh, there was stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I had people that had.
I have a funny story.
Okay, tell me. I want to hear it.
Finish what you're going to say about security.
No, I had a client who actually had to put a security system in her home just because there was some random person that sent crap to her house. Like, there's weird stuff. Or they make up these like fake profiles. They don't even exist. And then they have like the same picture with 6 different, names attached to it. It can be men or women. It's nuts. It's a nuts bill.
Okay, so hysterical. Funny story.
Tell me, Jamie.
My kids, they got my phone and got on my dating app and changed my profile. My son is super humorous. So this is my 14-year-old.
Okay.
Grabs my phone and changes my profile to say, "Send dick pics now." And then they go through and they match with people, and they match with the Middle Eastern, and he sent him a message, and he says, "I think you're the bomb."
That's terrible. Terribly funny. Oh my God.
We died. We were at sushi.
That's hysterical.
It was hysterical.
That is hysterical. It's true, though. I finally had to tell clients, don't send me those photos. They'll be like, look what so-and-so just sent me. I'm like, I have so many dick pictures on my phone and, like, pictures of grown men in, like, SpongeBob SquarePants underwear. I'm not kidding you. But I'm like, don't send them to me. My kids get on my phone. You can't. But it's that, I don't know.
I think Facebook's algorithms heard us cuss because we had like 20 listeners like one time right now, and as soon as I said send dick pics, it dropped to like 5 like that.
Nice. That's
Facebook must have a audio algorithm.
Yeah, they must. So what's next? What did you say that
save those photos for girls' night? Oh my gosh, should we tell our story? Online dating. Should we tell our story about what we did in Chicago?
No. Do not share that story, please.
Okay, I won't, but it's the funniest story ever.
It is, but that one is a never tell.
Okay, that one is a confidential. Keep that story.
Frickin' door. Boom. Sound.
That was one of the funniest things ever.
Mm-hmm. It was hysterical.
It was hysterical.
For it to ever be in our own little trapdoors forever.
Can I tell it anonymously one day?
Not on here.
No, because then they'll know.
God. Maybe in 10 years.
Different context.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're divorced. So what's next? We've got about 10 minutes left to cover some awesome stuff for our listeners.
Okay. So what's next? And my biggest thing was to actually say, so what's next? And my thing was either remain in a place of feeling disempowered and scared, full of fear. I can't do this. And trying to figure out how to do it. That's the other thing, is that we get so almost paralyzed by the idea of how do I do this? And basically it is one step at a time.
What do you mean by how? Like, how do you live divorced?
How do you live divorced? How do you get divorced? How do you do the single motherhood thing? How do you do all these things, And we just get so stuck under the cursed hows. I mean, that's why I stayed for so long. How do I get divorced? How do I leave this marriage that has addiction in it that I can't figure it out? How do I do these things? And so my so what was very much looking at just take the step and don't try to figure out all the hows, because trying to figure out all the hows, I would have never moved forward in the so what's next.
Well, isn't that what keeps a lot of us paralyzed staying in the first place? Like, how do
totally.
It's almost like looking outside of the window and it's snowing and you're like, how do I go out there? How do I live a life divorced when I've lived a life in this type of comfort, this homeostasis, this particular environment?
Yeah. How do I actually make decisions for myself, not based on checking in with somebody else to weigh out how it might impact them or what they think? I didn't do that. I was with my ex for my whole life, essentially. And so making decisions without somebody else saying, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, how do you do that? How do you go outside in a snowstorm? How do you don't have a car, you don't have boots, you don't have anything. It's like, hey, kids, let's pack up and go outside because we have a new reality. And so what's next was very much about take that next step. I remember lying in bed one night and really knowing that it was not going to be an effortless journey. But I started praying and just focusing on an effortless light because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what the next step was. It felt so dark and I didn't know. So I remember just laying there thinking, okay, show me a light. Show me one thing that I can take one step forward. I know it's not going to be easy. I'm going to have challenges. I need some growth. I've got contrast in my life which says, hey, it's time for you to change some things in your behavior and own some of your own crap. And so that was my thing, is that I just kept taking one more step towards the light that seemed effortless and easy enough to just take the chance to take it. And that's what I did for my So What's Next, to move forward. How about you? What did you do?
Well, I've been in kind of, my story, I've been in a kind of a whirlwind, almost like a movie for the last couple of years. Yeah. But I feel like right now is my actual time where I'm really processing what's next.
Okay.
I left in an array, of crazy dysfunction. I think I told you my story, right? I mean, his last thing was the pulling, chasing me around the house, saying he was going to hit himself and have me arrested, and called, social services on me. And I mean, it was me running from a lot of trauma. And so it created a lot of mayhem and chaos in all of our lives, in myself, so I feel like for me, I'm kind of in that. So what's next? I mean, I almost need you to be my coach, like,
we can do
help
it.
me.
We can do it. We can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Help me. Like, so what's next for me? Cause I really feel like I'm beginning my life new right now. I haven't dated in years. I'm really just starting a new career since I stopped practicing as a marriage and family therapist. I'm, still in my area of, I have, my book, The Hope for Autism, and I still love helping families, but I don't know. I feel like this is a new year for me. I don't know what's next for me. I didn't really process. I ran. I've been a domestic violence victim. I've been that, and I want to stop telling that story. My girlfriend yesterday, she's just amazing, Brittany Cara. Dominic and I went and had lunch with her, and she's like, when people see you in the movement, in our movement, you have a story about yourself, about the chaos between your clinics and your schools, and the issues with the husband, and your story's crazy. She's like, but people don't see you the way that you see and tell the story yourself. And she basically like slapped me around nicely. It was like, you got to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the story is, I mean, that's, letting that story go, but you can just tell the story off the triangle, but yeah, letting that go, because it's something, it was part of your launch, right? It was part of your process. It was part of what set you on this new path to even be able to say, so what's next, and that's part of that gift, I think, as painful as it is to be launched out of your life, like, everybody gets that launch at some point, and, coming out of it, so what's next? The first step is some clarity, and to learn some tool sets to not get stuck under the cursed house, and, play with some ideas and know what you want and gaining that clarity. And maybe you don't, but then there's a tool set to kind of figure out what that clarity is. But, so what's next? It's so fun to play with, and it's so fun to play with in any direction in your life. What's next in a relationship? What's next for your health and wellness? What's next for your food? What's next for your relationship with your kids, or your career, or money, or a new location? Like, it's fun to play in it instead of be paralyzed. When you get the launch and you're flying through the air, like, what the heck? What's happening to me?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel I'm definitely out of the paralyzed. I'm in my element, and I'm loving it. I love working with Divine One and getting those things going. Lots of exciting progress on our Puerto Rico event. So that's exciting. And just even new clients I'm working with, and the traveling is fun. And so I feel like I'm launched back into my new life, but it's still that, so what's next?
So what's next? And that's the thing. And are we ever done saying what's next? And for me, never. Like, there's a quote that says, I'm always satisfied, but I'm never done being done being with what satisfies me. Like, I always want more, but I'm always satisfied. But what's next? And that for me, I love it. That's living to me, is to say, so what's next? So when stuff is crappy, you can be like, all right, so what now? What? So what's next? But when things are good, you can still say, so what's next?
Well, it's so interesting, Cindy Lee.
Jamie Lynn.
From Jamie Lynn, that you say that, because tone, right? We talked about tone and cadence and speed.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, just dawned on me when we wake up in the morning and we tell ourselves, so what's next? The tone, the cadence, and the speed behind it, was, can we wake up exciting? So what's next? Like, what is next? Like, what is going to happen? It's exciting. It's vivacious. It's yummy and delicious.
Delicious
and
yummy.
Playful. Right? But what life has felt like for many years, that's in the past, but coming out of, and that physiology is still sort of there, is so what's next? Like what lies around that corner that's crappy. So the two different tones based off of the cadence, the speed, and the, you know, what do we tell ourselves day in and day out? So do you wake up every morning and you're like, so what's next?
I do. I'm that
like cheerleader?
I'm that annoying person. Like, I'm ready and I'm willing. So what's next is my last. I mean, that's what I say, you know, before I open my eyes. Like, I'm ready and I'm willing, and what's next? Bring it, right? And I will say, I used to be like, oh my God, what is next? You know, my friend used to say you lived in, you know, the shit show city, and I did. And that's when it was, oh, what's next? Oh, what's next? What's going to come next? You know, all that stuff. I mean, we have crazy stories. We could tell them. I mean, they're funny.
Everybody,
in a movie. Everybody has one. Yeah. And I did live, so what's next? It got so heavy. So now I wake up like, what's next? You know, what is it today? How alive do I want to live? And I don't know, like, maybe that's a challenge for this next week to wake up saying, okay, so what's next? And be excited about it. And see, like, next week, if people want to check in about what was their life like this week, you know, waking up, and how often did they wake up saying, oh, what's next?
Yeah.
Or, oh, what's next? Like, how did your life unfold this week? And, you know, did you have more of the excited cadence side, or did you have the heavy other side of doom and gloom? I think it'd be an interesting thing to check in with next week, because was your life different? You know, did you have one day of what's next, and what did your day look like? Versus, you know, allowing yourself that, I'm going to lean into possibilities. That's such an exciting time. And that's what So What's Next is about. Possibilities, you know, things
waking
we never
up every
of.
day, like my friend and my client here that I'm with in Salt Lake City today, every morning. Greatest day ever.
Greatest day ever.
Greatest day ever.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. I love it. I love it. So I think that, you know, for me this week, I'll definitely share next week. Like, you know, did I have a what's next day, or did I wake up every day like, what's next? Even in the hard times, you know, even in the challenging times, or as we say, the contrast, which gives us clarity. So welcome it and see it.
So what's next for next week, guys? What do some of our listeners want to hear? What would you like? What's on your agenda, Cindy? What should we talk about next week for our show?
You want them to chime in and let us know? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I can't see. I've got something blocking my comments, but maybe.
Yeah. After your other comment, which I'm not going to say it so that they cut us off again. They're like, shut Jamie Lynn down. She's asking for certain pictures.
D-I-C-K. I'm going to say D-I-C-K pics. D-I-C-K-P-I-C. S. It's like when you have small children, you have to spell everything out.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So what's a fun topic, Cindy, for what's
next week?
Yeah. This week we talked about what's next after divorce. I guess did we cover all that we wanted to talk about? What's next after divorce? Take one day at a time. Maybe not even think about what's next.
I think we could do a little bit more. I think we could do like some different tools or different things that people could use. The other thing that maybe might be kind of fun next week is a topic around launching your kids, whether they're going to college, whether they're going to kindergarten, you know, going to high school or middle school. Like, kids are going back to school here pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
What does that feel
like?
Kids
are back in school. What's next? Hey, Dawn. Dawn says she loves us.
Oh, we love you too, Dawn.
One love. I'm going to do it where I pat my...
Yeah, don't belch. Just be like... No, but I think a kids one next week around that would be good. You know, just like, what does that feel like? What's next, you know? I mean, I'm
celebrate party. Everybody loves the kids go back to school.
I'm kind of that weird parent that's kind of bummed out. I bring my daughter to the U of M. She's going to be a senior in college. She graduates this year. So that's a weird thing for me. So what's next? You know,
okay, somebody likes the topic of dating, and when is it appropriate time frame to introduce your new relationship to your children?
That's a good topic.
Yeah, that's a good one too. We can use patterning tools.
We could. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Yeah. I love it. Keep them coming. Okay, Jamie Lynn. Okay, everybody.
Cindy Lee. All right, everybody at Armed Radio. We're wrapping up our Armed Radio show. Thank you. Love those guys over at Armed Radio.
Mm-hmm.
And hope everybody has an amazing hump day. Our radio show is on Wednesdays. Don't get confused. We know it's Sunday.
It's all good. It's all good.
So what's next with our hair, though? Because we both have froze.
Yeah, it just all depends. It's really humid here in Minnesota. It's late at night.
Mm-hmm. Mine's like flat here, and then the bottom is saying like, so what's next?
Mine's just like, what's next? I'm trying to, calm it down. I'll start wearing a hat. I wear hats a lot. Then it won't look so crazy.
Me too. We should have like hat week.
We should. Let's do it. Hat week is a big week.
Yep.
Let's do it. Bring everybody on.
Yep. All right, my friend. I love you.
Love you. Happy hump day.
Love all of you listeners. Thanks for tuning into Armed Radio. Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella.
She's just a girl and she's on fire. Hotter than a fantasy. Lonely like a highway. She's living in a world and it's on fire. Filled with catastrophe. But she knows she can fly away.